I was driving home and TNA, and I'm like, it's a couple days before Thanksgiving. I wonder what's going on in TNA Wrestling, and I get this magical phone call about chatting with this fine gentleman here as him and his brother, Jeff, have re signed with TNA Wrestling. The Hardy Boys will be around for the near future in the world of TNA. Here is Matt Hardy. And first of all, Matt, congratulations. Second of all, good to see you. It feels like we chatted fairly recent, so it's good to talk to you once again for SI.
Absolutely. It definitely is. It's exciting. It's exciting for us. We really believe in the direction that TNA is going, and they've got a lot of big plans for 2025. They've taken great care of us. They've put us. They have put myself and Jeff in positions to succeed, which we're very grateful for. And we love the crew that's there, from the boys and the girls in the locker room to the management, everyone, and everything is really clicking right now. It feels the unity is strong. The brand is growing once again, and I see a lot of upward mobility for TNA over the course of the next year. And Jeff and I were going to be a part of that for the next year.
Now, was that the biggest determining factor, what you just said right there, or was there a specific moment where you and Jeff are like, all right, I know we haven't signed nothing long term, but this feels right here.
It does. I mean, once again, we worked on a handshake deal all the way through to winning the titles and having the titles for a month. So it's been a great relationship of trust between us and TNA management. Everything they've said they were going to do, they followed through with. Everything we've said we were going to do, we followed through with, and it just feels right. Jeff was very adamant about it. Jeff is really enjoying this run in TNA. He's feeling confident, and we were joking about last week. We were in Fayetteville, North Carolina, is where we first won our first major set of World Tag Team titles, which was in July of 1999, right? When we beat the APA, we beat the Acolytes for the titles for the very first time. And Jeff and I, we were in the ring. We had a couple matches. With one match, we were with Jake Something, Trent Seven, and Hammerstone. And the next night, we worked with the System. And we said, man, both nights, the crowd was so hot. And we both feel very good physically. I said, it felt like we were wrestling in the year 2000, 2001. It's like we turned back time. But no, man, everything's clicking. We're very happy with what we're doing there. And we want to do what we can to help build TNA back into one of the top brands in pro wrestling.
I know you can't speak too much for Jeff, but in terms of yourself, through all the times you've been in TNA, do you feel so far that this has been the best run of them all?
I think so. I mean, it's really hard to compare runs, because whenever we did the Broken Universe and Broken Matt Hardy happened, that was the most fun I've ever had in my career. That was, in a lot of ways, I kind of look at that with fond memories and think that is the greatest year of my career. So that was an amazing run. But towards the end, once management changed, there were a lot of things that just, there's no hatred, there's no resentment towards anything, but just the right people weren't put in the right places. And it was a new business taking over wrestling that really didn't know wrestling as much. And now Anthem is doing a great job, because they have people in the role of the bosses that know wrestling and they understand what they're doing. So it has been great. And really this run has been the most fun I've had in a very, very long time. Probably the most fun I've had since my run as Broken Matt Hardy and the year that I did the Broken Universe.
I want to congratulate you, by the way. Breaking 900 calories, my friend. That is, my oldest just started getting into those workouts, and
right.
He gets to like 100, and he's only 8, and he's just like, this is so awesome. So I showed him your tweet right before I came downstairs, and he's like, Dad, how do I do that? I'm like, just got to keep grinding. Got to keep working hard.
It is honestly that long cardio session. I don't feel like I can do those every day. I do them about every other day, maybe once every 3 days. Okay. And then the other days I'll do a 30 or 35-minute session. But I mean, I'll go 45 minutes and I will go balls to the wall as hard as I can the entire time. And this is one where I felt like I started with a sprint and I did a sprint all the way through. But after I take that ice bath, that cold plunge in the morning, which totally wakes me up, and it gets my juices flowing, and then to jump on cardio and have to warm your body back up, that's even more motivation to work even harder on those. So those are a great combo.
I tried that. After our chat to promote the event in Spartanburg that ended up getting postponed.
Yes.
My friend has one, and I'm like, I'm gonna try this. He asked, I'm like, sure. I had just torn my ACL, so I was told that it's something that does help. So I'm like, all
Right.
right, Matt, I didn't make it 30 seconds. It was too. I got in there and I'm like, nah, nah. Maybe it'll help my knee, but I'm not ready today.
Sometimes it takes a little getting used to. I'll tell you what, the secret to the ice bath, cold plunge, more than anything else, is just really being able to mentally focus and work on controlling your body, work on
Okay.
controlling your pain tolerance, work on controlling how tolerant you can be to extreme conditions. And that's one thing I've really enjoyed about it. And it's almost like a nice time to meditate. I will sit in there as long as I have music on. If I have some music on that can distract me mentally, I will sit in there and
Yeah.
meditate, and I'll be good for 5 or 6 minutes in 36-degree water.
A lot going on here is that you talked about the titles and you guys
Right.
won them at Bound for Glory. And and full disclosure, I'm covering the show for SI and I'm watching and I'm thinking, okay, I know the two big matches of the show. We're thinking it was going to be Joe and Nick as the headliner, and then when it wasn't, people were like, "Ooh, what's going on?" And I even put the same thing in an article, and I was kind of like, "Okay, what's going on here?" You guys, I thought you guys were going to win the titles, I mean, just with the momentum, seeing where it was going, and I thought that really made the most sense. But I was like, "Oh, Joe's not going to headline," and when you're told you're going to headline this show, biggest event of the year,
Right.
do you even question it even for a second just because you guys are doing great things, but where Joe's at this point and where the fans are viewing him. Do you as a talent, do you ever question stuff like that, or you go with the flow and to be like, we're here, cool.
I was given the heads up ahead of time, and I was kind of, they explained the scenario and kind of the breakdown of the show, and how obviously you want your show, especially your biggest show of the year, to go off on a high note if possible. And the order they put things in did make the most sense. As far as sending the crowd home happy at the very end. And speaking of Joe Hendry, someone who I'm a massive fan of, and also we've become friends over our time together at TNA, I think you are going to see a lot more collaboration between the Hardys and Joe Hendry going forward. And I think it would be pretty amazing if we end up being a little bit of a faction in TNA, especially with us as the tag champions and him as the world champion. I think that would be a hot combo.
Now, do you give it a name? You have to give that, every faction these days seems to have a name. So what name would you come up with you, Jeff, and Joe Hendry?
We'll see. I will work on it. I know there was one time where even Jeff just said, "Oh, he said we could go on. We could be the Hendry Boys." We'll see. Matt, Jeff, and Joe, the Hardys. Who knows? We'll figure it
I
out
like
one way
your
or the other.
By the way, I forgot to say at the beginning. I love the chair behind you. You were up a little bit when we started. I was like, now is that a Christmas tree right behind you there, man?
There
Or
you go. It is. It's a Pokemon Christmas tree. Yeah, this is my wife's stream room. My kids are big Pokemon fans, so the theme of this room was Pokemon. I am surrounded. I feel like I am in a Pokemon cartoon whenever I'm in here doing a Zoom call.
how many Christmas trees are in House Hardy?
Uh, 11, I think, this year. My wife upgraded to 2 more. There's 11. It's madness here. It's madness.
Now I asked because I knew that tree wasn't the main tree. I could see you guys are in your interview room, and
Right.
I have 4. My wife just purchased another one, and then it's going to be 5.
Oh my God. Your wife, she's got the addiction as well, huh? The Christmas
Yes,
addiction.
it's our favorite holiday. Like I can handle 2, but last year she bought another one, and I'm like, hey, this is all right. I get sure. But then my in-laws decided, hey, you need another one. We found this for like $50. Here's your 4th one. And then the 5th one's this little pencil tree that she bought. They decided, hey, it's gonna go in our family room. And I'm like, oh,
So we
uh-oh.
have a lot of specialized rooms in our house as it is, and then my wife does these themes. Like in my gym downstairs, there is a action figure Christmas tree which is purple. And because the gym is like uh purple and green. It's based off Hardy Boys colors. She painted the walls and decorated everything up. So there's a tree down there that is green. It has a ton of all my action figures. It has Jeff action figures on it. It has like ladders and titles, and it very very much wrestling themed. In our theater,
Okay.
there is one that has like popcorn decorations, and it has like movie cuts and whatever else it may be. So there's different things. The boys, they have a Minecraft room. There's a tree in there that is Minecraft themed. So there's a little bit of something for everyone. In Gothic Babies, there's a black one with bats and darker Gothic stuff. So she gets into it, man.
I love. See, your themes are cool. Mine, it's all girly stuff. There's, and I got two boys. There's even nothing just for my boys, and they want to do what you guys are doing. More of
Right.
like they want the themes and like the sports, and they're in the video. They're getting into game. My oldest is getting into gaming, so he's kind of like wanting to do like Roblox and
Yeah.
stuff like that, Fortnite and stuff like that. So no,
Yeah.
I get yours is a lot cooler than mine, so I appreciate that. And want to circle back real quick. Bound for Glory, and I'm like, see nothing but happiness. You know, you guys promised me a ladder, tables, ladders, and chairs. I told you guys to be careful. Thankfully, you guys looked like you guys were okay. Thankfully, and you guys regained the gold. And did that feel like for you, Matt, a full circle moment? Just considering when you guys left TNA and that now you're back, it feels like a big full circle moment for you guys.
It did in many ways, because when we left TNA, we were the TNA World Tag Team Champions. So we never officially dropped the titles. You know, once we ended up, you know, long story short, they brought some guys in from Anthem, and they were more business guys. They were very good guys. Ed Nordum, great guy.
Yeah.
We had talked afterwards. We get along famously now. But Jeff Jarrett came in, and Jeff Jarrett saw things a little different than we did, and he wasn't in the best place in his life and everything. And that's where the disagreement started. So when we offered to drop the titles before leaving, before our contract was up, they said no. You know, so they weren't up for it or whatever. And they did a thing on TV, I think, where we were teleporting somewhere, and then all of a sudden Decay caught us in space and time and took the titles from us and became the champions. But it's very cool because we feel like we had a great run as tag champions when we were doing the Expedition of Gold, and we almost picked up where we left off. And I feel like there's a lot of new things we can start doing, because I think people wanted to see a genuine OG Hardy Boys good run, especially towards the end. And that's what we did. We went all the way through to the titles. And I think now that we have become the champions, we can get into some new rivalries, some new programs, and really sink our teeth into it. And I think also we can start evolving our characters once again and do some new stuff, which both myself and Jeff are excited for.
You know, and that leads into this coming weekend, actually. You know, you guys are going to be at Turning Point. You guys, because it's part of the WrestleCade weekend out in your neck of the woods. And you guys and Ace Austin facing the Rascals and Kushida. And, you know, I know everything with Chris Bay in that situation, it's a hard thing to talk about, but you guys have really been really at the forefront. And just, it's hard to navigate here, but I don't know. Do you guys even know how he's doing? I know there hasn't been too much of an update lately on Chris. I know TNA's been giving updates, and I know Ace is giving some updates here and there. But what do you guys know the latest on Chris Bay?
We do. We know how he's doing it, and Jeff and I obviously are very invested in that because we love Chris Bay so much. You know, there's been little improvement. He has been getting a little better, but it's very slow. It's going to be a long road, and once again, you probably don't hear a lot about that because it's something that we really don't talk about. Nobody wants to get into specifics about it, you know. But everybody just continue to pray for Chris Bay, continue to pull for Chris Bay, and I promise you, nobody works harder than that dude. So we're looking forward to him continuing to get better as time goes on.
How hard was that just for the whole TNA locker room? Because you see one of the leaders, and I've talked to Chris a couple of times, and Chris is such a great guy, and just seeing him in that state, and how hard was that for you guys? And then you guys as leaders, how do you guys help bring the positivity back to what was a grim situation at the time?
It's a very stark, but also a very frightening reminder of how dangerous what we really do is, because it doesn't take much to get injured, and this is just a very strong reminder of that, you know, and you can be injured seriously. I think that the best thing that I think came out of this is the unity and how everyone has rallied behind Chris Bay and everyone has pulled for Chris Bay and everybody wants Chris Bay to get better. And like Chris Bay has, he has such a groundswell of support and love behind him. It is unreal, from everything from the money people raise to like, help him while he's off and obviously not wrestling or making money. Just everybody loves that dude so much, and it made the locker room close. It made the locker room feel like family in many ways because you realize just how precious life is, how precious your health is.
You know, and you're with Ace, and I know you put out a really nice tweet a few days ago about how you guys are gonna look over him. And
Yeah.
how do you feel like that's a job because you guys are the leaders? You guys feel like the locker room is like, what goes behind being like, hey, you know what? We're gonna do this. Something you don't have to do, but you want to do, which is obviously the right thing to do.
Yeah, and I do. I feel, you know, I feel Ace Austin is an honorary Hardy right now, especially while his partner suffered this devastating injury, and while he's doing his best to recover as much as he can, we don't want him to feel alone. We want him to feel like he is part of our family. He's part of the Hardys now. Chris Bay is part of the Hardys as well. We have the greatest of support for those guys. We have the greatest respect for those guys. They were in there with us during Full Metal Mayhem at Bound for Glory, and we went out there and everybody killed it. Everybody just busted their ass, and we hit an absolute grand slam out of the park. And those guys were a huge part in that, So we've got lots and lots of love for them. It's important. We're in that role where people can look to us for advice or look to us for guidance. And I think Jeff is in the right headspace right now where everything he does and the way he acts and the way he carries himself is very much like, a model employee. And that's very important. It's always been important to me. It has been for a very, very long time. And, I just want to see TNA grow. I want it to continue to thrive. TNA has been around for over 2 decades now. And once again, it's back on it's back at a hot point. Once again, everything's red hot. Shows are doing great. We're selling out. We're doing record numbers. We're going back in buildings and doing the biggest crowds we've done in over a decade. So we want to keep that momentum going, and we want to do everything that we can to help TNA grow and get bigger and get larger and continue to be a force in the pro wrestling industry. Because the better TNA does, the better it is for the entire industry, and the better it is for the fans as well.
Does that make because you've wrestled in front of big crowds to you and Jeff, that's nothing new. But you get the young guys and girls working their way up and trying to get to the point where you and your brother are. What do you say to them, to the guys and the girls that haven't been in front of crowds like this for like? What do you guys say? Do you have to say anything at all, or is it one of those where you and Jeff just lead by example?
I feel like we probably lead by example more than anything else. But I mean, Jeff doesn't really say like, "Hey, if you have any questions, come to me." If someone asks me that, "Hey, could you watch my match later?" Or, "Did you see my match? What could I have done differently?" I'm always open to speaking to them. And, one of the things that I think I really try and emphasize whenever I speak to people is just like, remember what you're doing in the course of the match. This match is more about like telling a story in the moments within the match than just the moves, because the wrestling business in some ways has became the moves to some of the young guys. The moves have become more important than the moments in the match. And that's because they look at their most instant feedback. And a lot of times that's online on social media, on Twitter or on, Facebook or wherever it is when someone is watching a match or reviewing it. But just at the end of the day, to get people emotionally connected and emotionally invested in what you're doing, your character, your match, your story, your arc, whatever it may be, they have to care about you for some reason. It's not that they pop huge just because you do this super cool move. They have to care about you for some reason. And it's very important to create moments that make those people care and become emotionally invested in you and your story.
Why do you think? I've noticed that too. What you just said is spot on. It seems like more talent is not all talent, but there's a good amount of talent out there that are worried about just like you said, the move instead of the story. Get to the move get to the sustained reaction that
Right.
you're looking for. It wasn't like that when you and Jeff were on the rise. It was telling the story. Yeah, the moves were there, but you already had the people invested in you. So when you do those moves, you're going to get the desired and sustained reaction that you're looking
Exactly. I mean, and that's well stated. I mean, what makes the wrestling business run? What makes the wrestling business thrive is when you have people in positions, in top positions, that are in a program that is compelling, that people are emotionally invested in. You look back over the history of pro wrestling, when Vince McMahon was a heel and Stone Cold Steve Austin was the everyday working man, and people could relate to that, like, oh shit, like his boss is trying to take advantage of him and he's gonna whip his ass. I wish I could do that. That's how people feel.
for.
Even the Hogan thing, when you had this guy who seemed like when he got the biggest move from the bad guy, then he would hulk up and like become superhuman and overcome things and win the match, whatever. Just those characters ended up connecting with people. And you look back at like Hulk Hogan's wrestling, he wasn't some wrestler who went out and would do a 5-star match every single night. Macho Man, he was a great worker, right? But also there was just that interesting character, and he connected with people. They were invested in what he was going to do, and they want to see where his journey would go. Obviously, during the Attitude Era, wrestling was so hot. Stone Cold was over huge. DX was over huge. The Rock was over huge. And those guys allowed us to be put into a position where we could like start to work on ourselves and get ourselves emotionally connected and get the audience to be emotionally invested in us. And then once we did that, and then we won the titles and we got a little credibility, and then we were able to do the tag team ladder match, and we were able to do the TLC stuff, and that became a staple. Then that kind of became a trait that like pushes over the edge and made us into superstars. So it's just, it was a different mindset back then. And I think just the internet and social media has put up it's like put up this vibe that like moves and match quality are so important. So many different corners of the internet have, and there's been a lot of people that have kind of drank that Kool-Aid of like, the match quality is the end all be all, and it's not necessarily. It's the story that's being told in the moments that happen within that match.
Does it make you give a grr inside when there's too much emphasis put on the match quality and star ratings and all this other jazz? Also,
So sometimes, I mean, like I have great respect for people who go out there and have killer matches, especially because they're extremely athletic, they're extremely talented. Obviously, if they can do that, but just at the end of the day, that is not the key ingredients that makes this pro wrestling train move. Especially, is not what makes it move in the right direction. What makes it move in the right directions is emotion, being emotionally invested, your persona, and also just putting smiles on faces and happiness in hearts. People need to connect to you. They need to connect to you.
a couple more questions, Matt, and thank you so much for the time today. It's greatly appreciated. And
Of course.
you got a shout out. You and Jeff got a shout out on Saturday night by your former proteges. The Private Party is they are the AEW World Tag Team Champions. I wanted just to bring it up really quickly because I thought there was. I was watching I watched highlights of the scrum when they brought you guys up, and you had to be a proud papa
I am.
watching two young guys that you and Jeff helped mold and seeing the success they have had currently where they're at.
Yeah, very very much so. Like they have worked really hard, and there's been times where they were about to lose faith as far as like getting the opportunity to win those titles. And it's so funny, we've been apart for a while, but still every few weeks I'll get a call from Isaiah, and Isaiah will hit me up and go like, hey man, what do you think we should do in this scenario? Like, what do you think is our best play? What's going on? And like, I'm very happy to talk to him. You know what I mean? Because Zay gets it. When Mark Quinn was out and he was injured and he was out recovering, healing up, and I worked with Zay and Ethan Page, like it clicked in Zay. Like I saw it clicked, and he gets what it takes to become, emotionally connected to the fan base. And he's doing a great job of that. Even everything he's done, from his persona to his talking to the way he's trying to carry his character, and a level of seriousness as being the champions now. Like it's been very impressive, and it makes you so proud. It makes you a proud papa watching someone who you look at, someone who you feel like you forged and shaped and helped them kind of, help kind of push them out there into the world of pro wrestling, and to see them grow and become their own man is a really something that makes me very proud.
And you put a picture up. It was with you. It was a picture of you guys and Daniel Garcia. I
Yeah.
saw, and a big night for Danny last week. He finally broke through it. It was more of like a kind of like with the TNA version of Joe Hendry, to where people were wanting him to wanting him to win the big one, and he finally won the big one. And another one I know from talking to Danny DePay is that you had a major influence on him as well.
Yeah, once again, Danny's another one of my guys. I'm a big fan, big advocate for Danny Garcia, both as a performer and a human being. You know, he's a real unique guy, and I got lots of love for him. And it's so funny because him and Zay, they're super close friends. They're the best of friends, right? And we were doing a shoot where Zay said, "Hey, can I grab you some food from New York, and we'll do this, and I'll put the do rag on you, and we'll do the whole vlog, whatever." I said, "Yeah, man, of course." And we were sitting back there, and we had such great laughs as we were shooting that. It was so funny. We were singing old R&B, and Danny was there actually filming it for me. And he sat back and took that selfie where he did it. So I love that picture. It's such a unique picture. It's so cool because everyone in that photo is carrying some gold right now. So it was really cool. And once again, I'm so happy for Danny, and I'm very glad that AEW and Tony Khan pulled the trigger on Danny, because you don't want to wait too long till the person dies off.
Yeah. Is it weird at all that you're now the guy people go to instead of you being the guy who was going to others and asking for that advice? Now you got guys coming up to you and to your brother.
I don't think so. It's not now. Maybe it was, like maybe 7 years ago, I was kind of getting used to it, like when they say, "Hey, how do you think we should do this?" Especially during my time at AEW, it happened a lot more. But like being at TNA, there's so many great, young, talented guys that I'm such a fan of. Jake Something is a guy I think he has unlimited potential. We actually just got to work with him, and I was very impressed by Hammerstone as he was talking about the kind of his thought process as he was putting things together. I mean, there's a lot of guys where I get to know them, and it's fun to kind of see what makes them tick and kind of where they're at, as far as the progress goes. And then, someone might suggest something. I say, well, what if we do this? And maybe it like tightens everything up a little bit and focuses on, the story of what we're doing. Then like you do one thing and everybody's low, and then it goes here. So the camera shots are right and whatnot, so that's a lot of thing. I feel I've done TV for 25 years now. So I feel like I can help out with that process quite a bit. And that's something that I really enjoy doing while I'm in TNA, as far as trying to help put together the matches with who I'm working with, and also thinking about like how it's going to lay out. We got to let the camera get each single shot that we need, and how is our story being told in the correct way.
Who are one and two guys that you really want to sink your teeth into in TNA in 2025?
That's a good question. Jake Something is somebody that I think stands out. I'm a big fan of Leon Slater, of what he does. He's a bigger, tall. He's deceivingly big, and the way he does that swanton into the 450 is just absolutely incredible. There's a bunch of guys. I would love to do something with Eric Young. He's just such a great talent. We've never like really worked like a program together or anything else like that. I think it's going to be interesting. There's some interesting stuff coming up on the horizon, I think, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I want to do everything that I can to be the TNA tag team champions, but bring all of the tag teams up, using our star power and just the TV time that we've had over the last 25 years, to try and if we can continue to bring everyone up and still remain relevant as being the tag team champions and looking like a good quality team, then that's what I'm all about.
And we'll end with this. What can fans expect from Matt and Jeff, the Hardy Boys, in the remainder of 2024 and all of 2025 in TNA?
In 2024, I think you're going to get to see one badass tables match before it's all said and done. Something we've got lined up, and that is against the system. And I gotta put over the system, even though we don't always see eye to eye. Brian Myers, Eddie Edwards, they are excellent in what they do. They kill it. Moose, an incredible athlete. I enjoyed working with him. That was my first time really like working a program with him. And anytime Dane goes around, it's fun to work with him also. In 2025, I think you are going to see Hardy Boys go in hot as the champs, fighting champions, and then I think you're going to see our characters evolve some. And Jeff and I, we have several different ideas, but I think it's going to be something fun, and I think it's going to be something that is going to freshen our whole act up again, which hopefully turns into something pretty big.
Matt and Jeff Hardy, our remaining with TNA Wrestling. Matt, such fantastic news. I'm glad we're going to be able to break this tomorrow morning and be able to get a good write up here with you, with a quote from you, and I know some stuff with Jeff as well. So, Matt, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much again. 2 times in later half of 2024, fantastic. Have a good Thanksgiving. Put up another, maybe at 13. We can go 12 or 13 Christmas trees, Matt. Maybe, possibly, or is 11 the cap?
I doubt it. My wife, she can't resist. She has to beat her over under every single year.
Well, hopefully no more Christmas trees, and you and your family, man, have a happy Thanksgiving and a happy holiday season. And we'll talk
you as well, Steven.
All right, thank you, man. Talk soon, bud.
Thank you.